A massive light heavyweight showdown may finally be taking shape. Russian MMA outlet Vestnik MMA is reporting that a fight between Khalil Rountree and Magomed Ankalaev is currently being put together, though the UFC has yet to make anything official. The timing here is particularly significant. Just a few months back, Rountree made a very public promise that he would never suffer another defeat after finding his footing again in the division. Since then, the buzz around him landing another major opportunity has only grown louder. In fact, his coach John Wood recently dropped a hint that the UFC had already reached out with some very exciting fight offers involving Khalil. If Ankalaev versus Rountree does get made official, it immediately throws another serious contender into the 205-pound title picture. Right now, Paulo Costa stands alone as the only top-ranked light heavyweight coming off a massive win and building genuine momentum toward a title shot. But plug this matchup in, and the entire landscape shifts overnight. Then factor in Khamzat Chimaev, who has been openly talking about eventually jumping up to a heavier division in search of bigger fights and bigger money, and suddenly, the light heavyweight division becomes arguably the most compelling in the entire UFC. Michael Bisping weighed in on all of this and actually made a strong case for why a Chimaev-Strickland rematch would make a lot of sense. Let's hear what Bisping had to say.
John Strickland went out there and won that fight fair and square. It's as simple as that. Yes, it was close. Yes, people are split and divided in their opinions as to who won. But ultimately, the fact that Khamzat did get tired, that's no one else's fault, and it's certainly not Sean Strickland's. Sean Strickland will be defending the belt again. I don't know who against, okay? Will it be Khamzat Chimaev in October? I mean, I'll be honest, Khamzat's a huge star, and I think there is a compelling storyline, and I think the world would be interested to see it one more time. Now, of course, a lot of people are coming out and talking about the fabricated beef. Nate Diaz was talking shit about it. You shake hands, you wrap the belt around your opponent, you go home, you lick your wounds, you watch the fight back, you have your brother, you have your team, your managers, your coaches, all watching it back and going, oh my God, you won that fight. You should have won that fight. Let's get a rematch, okay? And this time we're going to do the weight cut properly. I guarantee that's what's been going on.
Kamaru Usman may have just made his most significant move back toward title contention, and surprisingly, it has nothing to do with welterweight. According to highly respected journalist Mike Bone, Usman is expected to step up to 185 pounds and take on former middleweight champion Dricus Du Plessis in an upcoming bout. Usman appears to have accepted the reality that a fight against Islam Makhachev at 170 is not happening anytime soon, especially with that division backed up as badly as it is right now. But by making the move up to middleweight, his path back to gold suddenly looks far more realistic. People tend to forget that Usman already has a win over current middleweight champion Sean Strickland. Granted, it came years before either man held a belt, but it is a built-in storyline that cannot be ignored. And if he can somehow get past Du Plessis, a former champion and one of the toughest men in the entire division, Usman instantly puts himself right back in the title conversation. That is exactly the angle Luke Thomas and Mike Bone broke down in their recent analysis of the matchup. The big question everyone wants answered is how Usman's body holds up at 185 and whether he can still compete physically with naturally bigger middleweights at this stage of his career. But if he pulls it off, this becomes one of the most jaw-dropping comeback stories the UFC has ever seen.
This one is not announced yet, but I think inevitable and might be, out today for all we know. Dricus Du Plessis against Kamaru Usman in the UFC Oklahoma City main event. Usman is going to be moving up to middleweight for this fight.
I like that one. I like this one. I like this one a lot. Dricus has a lot to answer for. Kamaru could, as we've seen, can be very tricky even late into his career run. If they were going to give Kamaru a title shot off that Buckley win, I was not super thrilled about that, to be honest. But if you beat Buckley the way that he did, and you beat Dricus, that's a big if, but I'm just saying, okay, now it's a little different to me.
Dricus obviously lost in a certain type of way to Khamzat, and Usman has some similar traits in terms of being able to neutralize the game and everything. And let us forget, Kamaru Usman does have a win over Sean Strickland at welterweight early in their career. So there's a built-in storyline there.
Dana White also sat down with Spinning Back Fist recently and ended up revealing a lot more than most people were expecting. He touched on everything from the Arman Tsarukyan situation to the UFC's future on Paramount, and even his boxing ambitions. On Arman, Dana finally explained why he did not receive the lightweight title shot. He confirmed that the headbutt incident absolutely played a role, but made it clear that it was not the only factor. According to Dana, it came down to multiple things happening behind the scenes. Not one single moment or one single mistake, but a combination of circumstances that ultimately cost Arman that immediate opportunity. He also spoke briefly about Gable Steveson, emphasizing that no one truly knows how good a fighter is until they actually step inside the UFC cage, and that credentials and hype can only carry someone so far.
I obviously am not one of these fans, but some fans thought Arman should have been the one to get a 155 title pound shot.
We knew that would happen too.
Of course. Did the headbutt play any factor in the decision to not go with him? It did, right?
A lot of things have factored in, you know. Yeah. Yes.
Russian MMA reporter Usha Taika recently sat down with Razambek Jamalov, one of Dagestan's most decorated wrestlers and a proven elite at the international level, including capturing gold at the Olympics. During the interview, Jamalov was asked directly about the photos that surfaced online last month, showing Khamzat Chimaev struggling in a wrestling session with him, images that immediately exploded across the MMA community and sparked intense debate. Jamalov was measured with his words at first. He made it a clear priority to show Khamzat respect, acknowledging his physical strength, his toughness, and his competitiveness, making sure this was not going to be spun as disrespect or cheap internet clout. But once he had established that baseline, the tone shifted noticeably. The Dagestani standout calmly stated that when it comes to pure wrestling at the highest technical level, there is simply a clear gap. He then went a step further, saying that the experience actually lit a fire under him about the possibility of transitioning to MMA. Getting live reps against one of the most dangerous fighters in the UFC gave him genuine confidence, not just that his wrestling is elite, but that it could cause immediate and serious problems for anyone he faces inside the cage.
He is physically strong, resilient. He was pretty good for an MMA fighter. I had trouble in MMA aspects of our training, for example in clinch, where he used submissions to escape positions. However, when it comes to pure wrestling, I had a lot of success with double leg takedowns. We wrestled when Khamzat visited our gym in Dagestan, and every time I was at the gym, I gave him a lot of trouble, even in grappling, not just wrestling. To be honest, I'm now interested in a potential move to MMA. I didn't have this interest before, but after seeing some things, why not?
Garry is not buying Islam Makhachev's hand injury story for even a second, and he has made it very clear that he thinks it is all part of the champion finding ways to avoid him. In a recent interview, Garry said everything Islam has done lately is a massive red flag. The delays, the excuses, and now suddenly an injury claim right when the fight should be getting made. He called it the classic playbook that champions fall back on once they have secured the belt. Start looking for easier paths and softer fights rather than stepping up to the next real challenge. Garry believes he is the undeniable #1 contender at welterweight after his recent run of wins, and the frustration is clearly building over the UFC not locking this fight in. Right now, the title shot debate is basically a two-man race between Garry and Michael Morales. Analysts and reporters are split right down the middle. Some lean toward Garry based on his momentum, his marketability, and his win streak, while others push for Morales, pointing to his undefeated record and some social media activity that hinted he might be next in line. Dana White has not confirmed either way yet, but the debate is only getting louder. Let's roll the clip of Ian breaking down exactly why he thinks Islam's injury is just another excuse.
Ian's got a hand injury.
I don't have a hand injury. Islam. Yeah, I heard that too, but I don't believe it. I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I can't imagine he hurt his hand in the last fight with Jack. So maybe he did it in horse riding? I don't know. I don't believe it. I think it's excuses. Everything about me now tells me he doesn't want to fight, he doesn't want to fight, he doesn't want to fight. I don't know if it's mentally, physically, whatever it is, but yeah. He's doing the typical thing that all champions do when they get the belt. They try and maintain their position, maintain relevancy by not fighting and staying inactive. When I fight, that all changes.
Ilia Topuria has shared his thoughts on the upcoming UFC 329 clash between Conor McGregor and Max Holloway, and surprisingly, he's backing McGregor to get the win. He also opened up about the possibility of facing Conor himself somewhere down the line. Speaking in an interview with Carlos Contreras, Ilia didn't hold back. He called it a questionable matchup on paper, but acknowledged the undeniable star power McGregor brings to the table. He pointed out that while Conor is clearly past his peak, the only person who truly benefits from this fight is McGregor himself, not the UFC. That said, Ilia expects Conor to go out there and put on a show, because that's just who he is. As for the fight itself, Topuria sees it playing out entirely on the feet. No wrestling, no grappling, just a pure striking match. And in that department, he doesn't think there's a massive gap between the two. He actually predicted McGregor edges it out, pointing to the fact that Conor already beat Holloway once before. When asked who he'd prefer to win from a personal standpoint, Ilia was straightforward. He'd rather see McGregor get the victory, because if Conor wins this and then picks up another win after that, a future fight between the two becomes a real conversation. But right now, Topuria made it crystal clear, Conor is nowhere near his level. He believes McGregor knows a fight with Ilia would be a brutal one, and that he'd need to rebuild his confidence before even thinking about stepping into that fire. As of right now, Topuria said he'd flat out turn down the fight. In his eyes, Conor simply doesn't bring enough to the table at this stage of his career. There are far more compelling matchups available to him, but if McGregor strings together a couple of quality wins, starting with Holloway, that changes things, and that fight could absolutely happen. That's it from MMA Time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA updates.